Photoshop can be used to create all kinds of visual effects. This was created using a gradient, very basic gradient. To create it, simply just go over here and select the gradient tool and classic gradient and just use a rainbow gradient and also linear and just click and apply, and you can create thousands and thousands of different overlapping lines. But that's not the point of this video. What I'm going to do is use it to create an entire complex design based around the mixer brush. The mixer brush is a powerful way of capturing parts of an image, and I wanted a complex image. Now, how to create this quick gradient, just click here and you can see you've got opacity here of 0 and opacity at the end, so you get some transparency. Okay, once you've got this, what you need to do is go to the mixer brush, and the mixer brush can be found up here. Here's the mixer brush. So with the mixer brush, you can now go over here, set the wet to 0, set the load to 100, dry heavy load, and then hold down the Alt Option key, and you will see this little sort of target, and just click. And as you do that, you'll see up in the corner up here what it's capturing. And it's a great way of doing this with any image. So it doesn't have to be just lines like this. This could be any image, but it captures it, and now you can paint with it. So let's just go and apply. And you can then apply, and you can see when you do this, you get this lovely sort of blurry effect. It's a blurry effect that's generated, but it does fill rapidly a sort of random sort of effect like that. And that's what I want. I want a random sort of image. I don't want like uniform design. I want sort of dabs, and you can apply it multiple times, maybe change the size of the brush. So just go here, you can reduce it down, click and different apply, make it smaller, and so on. You can see all kinds of different designs can be created. Really useful. Brush settings. So if you go to brush settings, just go over here and you've got shape dynamics. You can set the size jitter. You can also go for scattering, and that's really useful just for filling the entire screen. So 681 there. So it just pushes it all over the place. And again, you can resize it, and I'll maybe make it a bit bigger again. And once you've got the design, you can then manipulate it with additional filters. So I'm just going to make certain you've just got everything there. Okay, so now with that, what you can do is you can distort it. And I'm going to distort it using the wave filter. Really powerful filter in Photoshop. And filter, and then go down to distort, and then wave. So in wave, you can create all kinds of designs. It's got a lot of great settings, but you can set the number of generators to 1, and then you can increase the wavelength. You can set the amplitude, and they're independent as well, so you can set them separate. So you can just vary this in countless ways. Just change the setting, and you see as you do that, different results will appear here. But also you can go wrap around, and you can also randomize. So just click here. Now, it's not the biggest preview. I would love to see Photoshop, Adobe update this preview to make it a bit more sort of, or maybe just apply to the entire image like most of the filters do. This one doesn't. So click OK, and you get this sort of effect. Now, I'm just going to quickly zoom in so you can see it a bit better. So you've got this design. Well, what you can also do now is you can fade it. So you've got this, you can go to Edit and Fade Wave. Now you could, of course, apply this effect on a layer, say, and then blend the two. It's another way of doing it, but this is what it basically does. So fade, and then you can run through, you can go for overlay, maybe go for difference, and all kinds of different designs. And I'm going to go with that. Now the result may be better or worse, and I'm just going to go with what I've got here, but you can, of course, maybe varying the size of the brush will result in different effects. So this has created lots of very small artifacts here. I think it's just an unusual design, but click OK. Now I could have changed the opacity as well. That's another option. But once you've done that, you can then maybe go over here, image, adjustments. You can always use some adjustments and go with maybe levels. So you can just tweak it slightly, so you can actually see the result there, and click OK. Well, what you can also do is you can distort it even further using Liquify. And Liquify is a great effect for just creating sort of drawing designs with an image. I know that sounds pretty weird, very odd, but you can just go into Filter and Liquify. So Filter and Liquify. In here, you can now set the size, and I'm just going to go with this one. This is the Forward Warp Tool. Forward Warp Tool, and you can then just drag this. Oh, let's just select that one. And then as you do that, you can see it drags out that way. I love to start with pushing everything outwards. So I'm just going to drag this like that. And you can get these lovely smearing lines. Now, another thing you could do, because at the moment you can see it's quite sharp, but afterwards you can apply like an oil paint filter just to smear it a bit, because I think there's a lot of sharpness. If you want that, then that's fine. Okay, next thing to do, just reduce the size down, and then you can just drag different parts. And I'm just going a bit too small there, mate. One thing should be noticed with this, the size, it does leap quite massively. So you just slide it along a bit and it goes quite a big difference. So you might end up with 198 when you really mean like about sort of 400 or so. And you can of course just enter the value, which is sometimes easier. So if you want small brush, enter 100. Want it slightly bigger, 500 say, than using the sliders, which I find slightly fiddly to use. But you can see as you do this, you can actually just drag in from different parts, different angles. So just drag in, and then you can create these sort of lovely sort of lines in the image, which start to take form. So you can make a sort of, a person shape or something, maybe if an arm stretching out. And you can do that, of course, over different parts, maybe move that. And you can see the general sort of thing. You can build some structure into the image instead of just having it sort of lots of random sort of colour here, obviously reds, greens and pinks and things. But you can see then you can build up all kinds of unique, and you can just keep squeezing different places there. So it sort of gets in a real crunch, but then sort of spans out a bit. And again, you can drag that off into the distance. So I've just got this sort of like a tree-like design in that image now. And once you're happy with it, click OK. And of course you can apply it again. Quite often I like to do this. So you go to Filter, Liquify again, and you can apply it, and you can see, it might be good, might not. So undo. Don't particularly want that. Once you've got that, well, you've got this image now. Another great thing to do, as mentioned, you can go to Filter, and you go to Stylize and Oil Paint, because you can see when you look at it, you've got lots and lots of very sharp lines, which I'm not particularly happy with. 10 and 10, 100% was setting, and click OK. And then that sort of smears it a bit. Now, another thing you can always do, which I always like to do, is put this to a library. Once you've got an image, you think, you know what, that's pretty good. I'm going to store it away. Now, weirdly, sometimes this does not often work. The library feature, if you go down the bottom here, there's a little plus, click here, you might only find like foreground colour appears. Don't know what happens, don't know why, but it does do that sometimes. You can generally always simply go to the Move tool and drag it in to the library, but for some weird reason the graphic option does not seem always to be available. So graphic, select that, and then that's stored. And you can use it, of course, in future projects, maybe use it as a layer, combine it again in multiple ways. And you can see I've got some designs here. Now, another thing you can do, which is also with this libraries panel, and you can find that in the window menu, you can use it to create a pattern design, which can then be used in other ways. Hi, if you're finding this video of use, please subscribe to the channel. Always adding new tutorials about Photoshop, Affinity Photo, DaVinci Resolve, and many, many other applications as well. A like or dislike, always appreciated. Also, if you've got any comments, any thoughts, please let me know in the comments below. Back to the video. So the next step, go to the Libraries panel, and down here to the plus, and then Extract from Image. So what that does, it just generates a pattern design, and it can create something really weird and wonderful. And you can also got other options as well. You can also select different pattern types. So you haven't got just this basic one, which I think is pretty good. And you've got this little preview, and you can move it around. So you can see you can create all kinds of unique designs just from that. Also, you can modify the scale, so you can see as you do. Now, it will degrade if you go closer and closer. So sometimes it's better maybe just to have it like there, just obviously vary it what you're happy with. And of course you can always apply oil paint to it and smear it a bit later. But I'm just going to go with this one. I prefer this one, the third one. And you can see as I move that around, it creates some really beautiful designs. Save to CC libraries. So just click here, save to CC libraries, stores it away, and then close. And now you can see your patterns down here. Conveniently, of course, it's in a wrong library. Probably a good idea to move it to another library. You can always just simply right click, you've got options here, move to, etc. So you can position it to say a patterns library. But what you can also do is you can click it here. Clicking it will add it as a pattern layer. As a pattern layer, you can now resize it, and I'm just going to show you that it doesn't look great if you put it to 100. It's actually, in this case, it's not too bad, but you can see some sort of imperfections here, which is not really ideal. So I'm just going to keep it at, say, 50. So at 50, I think it looks okay, and click OK. And I could vary the angle as well. That's another option. You could just move that around if you want it that way, or just, let's just put it back to 0. Just going to go with 0. And click OK. Well, now what you can do is exactly the same as you did before. All those different options, you can create all kinds of unique designs, just repeating the same design over and over again to create many, many variants of this sort of image. Well, next thing I'm just going to do is I'm just going to flatten it. So layer and flatten image. And as mentioned, I think a really good thing, filter and stylize and oil paint. And that just smears it a bit so it doesn't look at those really odd imperfections there. So 10 and 10, click OK, and you can apply it multiple times. So filter, oil paint, so you've got that. You can, of course, go over image, adjustments, and then go down here to levels, vibrance maybe, just tweak it slightly, just make it a bit more vibrant. I love vibrant colours, so you've got that real intense around there, and click OK. Now, if you want, again, you can always distort it, use various filters. Another one, filter, and down to distort and wave again. And you can see then when you get that, you get this weird distortion, number of generators, which you can then randomize. You can just go through them, just try them out. I like that one. I don't know actually how the wave filter uses algorithmically within the actual application, how if it generates particular pattern designs within itself. But it always creates, sometimes you just get that just really lovely design that's just got that curve in it. And I think I'm going to go with that one. I've got the same settings I had before, and click OK. But then you can always apply it multiple times. Filter, wave, and filter and wave. Now, sometimes you can apply it too many times and it ends up really falling into the same sort of design. I think, again, that's something within that wave filter will generate. But you can always then, again, of course, manipulate it with filter and go to Liquify, which would apply exactly the same effect as you created before, or just go into Liquify like that. And then you can, of course, just modify this, just drag this out and create, again, different designs, just to create some, I think, nice sort of variation. Otherwise, it just becomes looking much the same as you do it. Obviously, it's a pattern design as the source, but also what you can do when you create these lovely sort of thin, I'm just going to create, again, push in there so you can see those thin areas like that, like squeezing that, stretching it out. So just stretching that out like that. But also you can go to some of the others as well. This one's always a good one, twirl. So twirl, set the size fairly small, and then you can just go along around this, just click. If you click it, you can see it just distorts it. Maybe multiple clicks, and you can create this lovely sort of weaving effect, sort of in and out, and a sort of wave within this. And again, just hold it down for a bit, and just, and eventually it does it. You can modify different the density settings, the pressure, etc., and just tweak it, and again create these sort of like ripples in there. Another effect which I quite like is this one. Just go here to the bloat tool, or I think bulge tool, whatever. And you can just go here and again do exactly the same. Just simply click there, and down this line you can create these lovely sort of pulses. And you can do this obviously all the way along, or any other part of this image. And you can see as you do that, instead of just a uniform sort of, you know, nicely smooth lines, you can now create this sort of like pulse-like effect in the design. That's just by holding thing, let the cursor down, the mouse down, and then you got that. You can see as you do it, you can distort the whole image or just parts of it to create some interesting little variations in the design. I think that just creates a nice rippling effect there. And click OK. And that is the end result. And you can, of course, continue on, maybe make some other variations. As I said, just go through the same steps with the design and just keep repeating to create even more complex designs, and then just add them to the library and store them away for future use. Could be used for a background design, maybe overlays. You could use this as textures, maybe save it as just go over here, file, and save as a PSD file. Then can be used as a great sort of displacement map design, but you can use it for other things as well. Bye.